a lack of compromise both on the technical side and the sales side.
Oh yeah, we butted heads.
The different look for us. Brett Chittum, Lawrence Systems, and I'm here with
Jason Slagle, CWR.
And I'm pointing the right way because we're actually sitting next to each
makes it
other right
easier.
now. This is interesting because Jason came to infiltrate our business today, and he's having a good time here. We're ordering wings, paid for by him, right? Or is it actually? It's brought to you by CNWR because CNWR IT consultants, they're the way you should go.
Sure, I'll take that.
How's that work? Does that work for you?
That works.
So business technicalities, and I think we hit a real hot button here with Jason. And since I'm a sales guy and he's a tech guy, I think we are two of the most knowledgeable on this little thing we're going to talk about not letting sales become service headaches.
Yeah, this is born out of real life discussions that have been happening between my sales team, myself, and my service manager over the past week or so. So it'll be a pretty good discussion here, I think.
Well, I will tell you when I first got into doing the sales aspects here at Lawrence Systems, it was I would be on the phone with somebody and literally I'd be talking about something and somebody down the hallway would yell, "Brett, that's not how that works." And one of the things we find in sales, I'm just going to say from the sales aspect side, is that we promise everything.
Mm-hmm.
And usually none of it will work, right?
I mean, that to a large extent, that's what you're supposed to do in sales, right? So I won't say you're necessarily doing anything wrong. I would ask that you ask this to make sure you can actually deliver that unicorn before you say you can. But generally, you are conditioned in sales to never say no.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem. And when you sell a product, you think your product can do everything, and you hope it can. But as time has gone on, I've learned that certain things don't do certain things, right? And as we go through this whole process, and as I grow in the IT industry and the sales aspect side, I learn something new every day, and it's been exciting. I've actually set up my own network at my house using a lot of the tools that we use here at Lawrence Systems. I got a PF Sense, I've got UniFi running them, and just really I've wired my house actually. I've wired it.
I've done some myself. I've got some wiring internally. A lot of it was there when I got there. On the other side of that, I go the other way. I've got Meraki stuff at home, right? So, as a Meraki partner, their NFR deals are really, really good. So, all my switching's still Cisco, but my access points and firewall are both Meraki.
Yeah, but Meraki, they all work, right? Yep. It's what your use case is and what you need, what you're willing to do. But back to selling becoming a service headache.
Yeah.
Tell me some woes we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm going to run down like a generic story that we have here, right? So we got a client that we're doing some very high level Linux consulting for. Kind of not real easy to do because of some security policies. Not really a ton of work, so it would come sporadically, and it would tend to come when they had a shutdown, right? Because this is a giant manufacturing plant, and shutdowns aren't frequent.
Right.
I'm reviewing at the end of every year, right? It's I towards the end of the year, I'm reviewing, each account. We're kind of going through ABC, right? Like, ranking them, like, are they worth, as we grow revenue, like what is the weakest link, right? Like, what am I going to do? And I make the decision that, like, look, this is work that is mostly me doing it at this point. I have one other guy that can do it. It's painful to do, and it's not making a lot of money. So it renewed in November, and we sent the client a notice we were going to renew it. Right. We were just gonna, we've kind of moved on from doing that, very bespoke work that they had us doing, and we weren't going to do it anymore. So, client kind of flips out a little bit, and they're like, well, what can we do to make this worth it? And what I ended up saying is that, like, look, this just isn't enough revenue for me to maintain documentation, right? Like, it comes sporadically. It's not worth it for me to keep anyone trained up on it. So I end up having to do it myself. I'm very busy, I got a lot of other stuff going on. So they're like, okay, well, what other work can we add to it to make it worth your while? So we go out there and we do a network assessment, which is kind of pretty much how we tend to lead. And we identify a ton of gaps.
And your sales guy's working with you through this whole thing,
Sales guy
right?
sold the network assessment,
Right.
right? Like we went out and met, and we met with their IT. So this is a big enough plan. It's got both IT and OT. If you're not familiar with OT, it's operational technology, right? So it's the people that take care of the PLCs and the stuff on the SCADA stuff on the plant floor. IT and OT kind of fight with each other a little bit, and so we go out there to do some work, and so we pitch kind of like a managed thing,
Right.
and they kind of pull it back, and they just want to do a retainer. And so this is where the trouble starts.
So when going back and forth with sales, how did that interaction go between sales, you, and the client?
Yeah, so I didn't actually attend the calls where this happened. I had Matt on, so Matt is my service manager. We'll probably get him on one of these eventually.
We need to.
And so he's on it with the sales guy selling it, and they come back to me and they're like, "Well, the client's pushing back for X, Y, and Z. They really just want to do a retainer." And so I'm like, "That's fine. I'd rather have some sort of managed, but." At the rate and the size of the retainer, it was enough work for me to justify doing. And they need the work, right? It's like this was less than 100, more than 30-hour a month retainer agreement, right? So it's not a small retainer. But then they throw the nut in there. They don't want the hours to expire.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're living now, is fighting through that. So from a sales guy, tell me your perspective on this.
So on and I do things differently in sales, and people said I'm very different in a lot of aspects, because I also tend to lean on the side of the technical issues that could arise, because I don't say yes to everything. I don't. I never have. And I feel that on I understand expiring hours need to be a thing, because if not, you start to accrue hours beyond what you're going to do. And in a year and a half from now, it becomes cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up having your team on this client for a whole week period, and you're going to lose money in that respect. It's about it's kind of like credits and debits, right? You get your credits, you debits, you get your income here, but a year and a half down later, they don't equate, and it makes your balance sheet go to hell.
Yeah.
But on the sales side, I would want to do anything I could to make that happen in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, right? Sales guy will make good commission on it. To be fair, we'll make plenty of money on the prospect. Taking off my technical hat and putting on this nice business life cycle insights hat.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
So we'll pull business Jason today instead of technical Jason. It presents a problem for me in that prepaid labor or retainer blocks are a liability I carry on my books, right? Like, this is labor that's been paid for, so it's a revenue I've received.
Right.
We're still a cash-based business. We're still small enough to be cash-based, but internally it's still liability that I owe, and I can't carry that forever, right? It's really a big problem for me if it crosses financial reporting periods. I can live with it to a limited extent, but I can't have hundreds and hundreds of hours crossing years, right? Because then I receive the revenue in one year and all the costs is in the next year, because prepaid hours, there's no cost to me until they're used.
Exactly.
Right. So
it becomes an accounting nightmare.
It becomes an accounting nightmare to try to do that. And I'm sure there are somebody way smarter than me in accounting will comment in there as to how I should handle that. And please do, because I would love to know. But it's really onerous on me to carry them. And then going back to what you said, this is a plant that's got, a couple hours, maybe a 6-hour window once a month they're down in the middle of the night on like a Sunday. And then once a week, they take a week, I think in the summer, and they're just down for the whole week. So my fear is that they're just going to bank up, this several dozen hours every month until shutdown week, and then they're going to want my guys like literally the entire week to do all the work. And it's, man, that's just a scheduling nightmare, right?
Which will shut down your business too.
I can't. Trying to get everyone to understand the, like, why are you turning money away aspect of this. And we'll set, it's not lost, we're still negotiating with them, and we'll probably find a happy medium where the hours don't expire in our normal 90 days. Maybe I'll push it to 180. But there's going to be a give on that. Like, okay, if you want to schedule more than like 20 of them at once, I need at least a month's notice, right? Like it's going to be, the more you're scheduling in a block, the more lead time I need to be able to schedule that.
Well, then there's got to be compromise. And I think that's the problem that we tend to run into when there's money on the table for a sales guy. When you think about, the commission for a sales guy could be pretty good for that kind of a deal. And they want that deal because that's how they put food on the table for their family. But there has to be a compromise. And I think sometimes there's a lack of compromise both on the technical side and the sales side. So you start to butt heads
we butted heads.
but in doing that, there's got to be some type of resolve, right? And I think you guys are still working out the resolve because this is an existing thing that's going on right now with you guys.
I brought this up as a potential topic. We have a list of topics you want to cover, and I'm like, no, I got a good one we could talk about tomorrow. This is an ongoing thing, and I think we'll probably come to agreement. But it takes me, I kind of want to pivot this, right? It's like we're a managed service provider, right? It's like, so this is co-managed, right? And I'll take it, but this isn't really, there's no managed component of this, right? Which is another big struggle with me. So how do you handle that? Because you have a pretty good hybrid here going, I think.
Yeah, we have a hybrid going, and we're actually working on a couple that we do just that. We have some block hours and they do expire. We have a couple school districts that we do, and it has to go through E-rate. So it has to be specific, and and per E-rate there has to be an expiration, but it can't be less than a certain amount of time. So we do have a number of clients that we actually do block hours. So we'll sell that, but they do expire. But it's a 12-month expiration as opposed to 3 months, or 6 months or 9 months.
Yeah, making them all expire at the end of the contract even, right? It's like, I just can't hold them out there forever. It's the big thing for me is like, we do co-managed for a number of clients, right? But normally with co-managed, I have some sort of managed opportunity, and then we'll sell a retainer or we'll do time and material for stuff that falls outside of that defined block we're managing. This is, I think the problem at this particular place is we don't know enough yet to be able to properly do a managed quote because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like there's not clearly defined ownership of assets,
IT and OT and all that as well.
Right. So it's like there's these weird shared things like Veeam. We had pitched a managed Veeam solution for them, and there's just too many people involved. They can't pull the trigger on it right now, right? So I think eventually they will try to push it towards more managed.
We had a client that was not in the same industry, but a similar issue where there were a lot of irons in the fire. We're actually working with a client right now that there are a lot of irons in the fire, and they're trying to bring it down to not having to call 10 different people for an issue. Well, this one client we talked with, you just have to be on the sales side. You have to understand that certain things are not going to be happening or are not feasible for your company. Whether you make that sale or not, they're not feasible, but you can come to a solution. And as long as you are, as a matter of fact, with the client, once you become wishy-washy with the client in a sales type situation, they take that as they can now roll with your wishy-washiness. It has to be, as a matter of fact, this is the way we're going to do this. We cannot do it the way you're asking. You have to. There's a lot of that has to happen. That's where I'm different, I think, because I want the sale. But it's not going to break the bank if I don't get the sale.
Yeah, correct. I want the sale too, right? But it's like, I don't want the sale at the cost of Matt and being angry later. Right? That was part of the conversation, because he's like, I think we can do this. And I'm like, I think that we can. However, I'm going to pull my crystal ball out and go, 6 months from now, when they request a 40-hour block of your time, you are going to be very angry because it's going to punt a bunch of other initiatives you have open, and it's going to be really hard to tell them no, because they've already prepaid for this time, right? So, it's like, you got to put some guardrails around what that looks like, and it's going to mess up all his metrics, is what I told him.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Like we had our whole episode on KPIs. One of the KPIs we track him to is service to salary ratio.
Right.
And if this guy prepays, 60, I'm going to call it 200 hours he gets up to, right? So over a number of months, we receive that revenue, and his service salary ratio looks awesome. Well, we track trailing 12 weeks. If more than 12 weeks later, he uses all this time, now Matt can't get any other revenue to fill that time, and it's very much a roller coaster.
And that 12-week mover just keeps and that'll hurt for a while over that week.
It will mess up his KPIs for like months.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, I just thought of a potential solution in that and going to the client. And if you let's say you go to the client and you say, we understand that you're going to have this week of shutdown, and it's probably going to be that time you really need us. What about if we did this? We lower the hours you're going to use for us because we know you're going to call us at least this amount of time. We take and we will give you 90 to 120 days of expiration on that. But this 6 week, we're going to at time realize that cost because we have to do that and say, okay, well, you're going to have us for this many hours. We're just going to build that into the contract that at the 6 week, we're going to bill you prior to that, like a week prior.
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of ways we can handle it. Like if they really have enough work, defined scope work that we think we can do, I'll just do a statement of work, right? It's like, let's not bank all these hours and hold them forever. Like, let's engage me, 6 weeks before your shutdown, and like, let's come up with a statement of work with a scope. And even if it's pretty generic, right? Like the customer wants to buy 60 hours of our time to assist during shutdown activities. That's fine. I can do that. It ends up in the period that we're using it. It makes my books happy. It makes my bookkeeper happy. It makes everyone happy. And that was part of the discussion I had with them, right? It's like, if you don't think you can use X number of hours a month without them expiring, how many do you think you can use? Let's just write the contract at that, right? Like, why are you prepaying me for all these hours you don't want to expire if you don't think you can use them?
And it's because they're banking up for that. Yeah. And if you put the elephant right in the middle of the room in that sales conversation, I think you handle the issues that happen.
Yeah.
The problem is you don't want to be down the road, everyone frustrated with something going on. And we've all had those clients that we wished, what do we do? Can we offload them? And we all have out there in the tech industry, we all have those clients, but what can you do to make things work? Setting the expectation with the client. That's why, like you said, a statement of work is important. And a statement of work isn't written by just the salesperson or the technical side. That's written in conjunction with and working together and compromise. So in coming up with that statement of work and setting that expectation for the client makes it a clear and definable thing that can happen as that week comes up. And not collecting a bunch of money just because you can, because it's great to have that money in the bank, but you're going to realize a loss somewhere else.
I mean, the client, part of the reason they want that many hours is they want to take advantage of the, like, I'm willing to discount it a little more if they buy because it's committed revenue, right? So, but it doesn't work. Like, I'm not counting on the breakage. Like, I'm incentivized because the overage rate is higher than the rate they're paying. I'm incentivized for them to use all those hours and use a little bit more. And so I would rather write the agreement towards what they can use, right? If we really think there's, 40 hours or 20 hours a month worth of work there, let's write it at, 20 to 40 hours. And then let's revisit it in 90 days. Right. Let's write some sort of true up into the thing where it's like, if you're exceeding by a lot, then in 90 days, let's just bump that up a little bit to give you the preferential rates. Right. It's like, let's let this roll for 90 days and see where it lands. And that's maybe what we end up doing.
And still offer that discount rate too, as well. I wouldn't go 90 days out because, I mean, depending on if they play it right, if I'm the client and I'm going to play this right, let's for the next 90 days, we'll just go 10, 12, 15 hours over. You lose money at that. Let's face it. You don't, but you do. And I would go like even a 60-day trial period. Let's do 60 days. I just a thought, because I don't like long trial periods personally. 60 days, you're not going to lose your ass.
It'd be a true up period, right? So it's like I would maybe hold the overage rate at their normal rate, and then in 90 days we're going to set the average, and then we'll reset the overage rate. So
that seems like a great compromise, actually.
Yeah, actually, I need to remember that so I can tell my guys.
I think you're going to have this recorded the video, and
that is true. Tell you. Oh, yeah.
I think any last thoughts, because we're at like the 19-minute mark now.
I think we're good. We do have trying to get Wes Spencer to join us here soon. We'll probably do that out of the ordinary. Like, we'll do a normal episode, and then that'll be extra. So
Wes would be a great guy. We're looking to bring on some people. I've talked with Tracy Ariska at Huntress, who wants to come on. She's got a couple things she'd love to talk about, and looking for people out there that would love to be a part of this and helping the IT community and building their business.
We're pretty chill and laid back. My notes here for this have all of 4 bullet points, right? So it's a lot of off the cuff just
Yeah.
talking about things.
We
So
have fun.
yeah, cool.
All right. This has been Business Technicalities. You have a topic you want us to talk about? Please send us a topic, put it in the comments, like and subscribe. That'd be great as
Yep.
well. And
Yeah. See
that's
you
it.
next week.
All
Cool.
right.
See ya.
Bye.